Here we are, and hopefully you're working on the icon design project right now. What I want to do right now is help you create a artboard and some beginning layout stuff so that you can have a nice evenly spaced set of rounded corner squares that you can design all of your icons on. And I'll also help you set up the layers so that you can use templates and put your icon art up on top of those easily. So here we are in Illustrator. I'm going to go make a brand new file. And the easiest one to start off with is the 8.5 by 11 letter size. But let's see, I want to make sure that we're working in inches also, because all of the measurements that we use to space this project out are going to be, guess what, in inches, and a lot of them are half inches. So go and hit create. So first thing I'm going to work on is it set up my artboard in a landscape format, and I really wanted it to be in a portrait format. So I did that with my artboard tool. If part of my composition or part of my artboard is outside of my workspace, I can probably go and use the zoom controls to make it fit on screen. And there we go, that looks pretty good. We're gonna start out with kind of the base of squares that we're going to draw all of our art on. And it's pretty easy to just go click on rounded rectangle. As I start to draw this rounded rectangle, in order to keep the height to width ratio, I can hold the shift and it stays a square right now. And I'm now looking at the dimensions right here, and it's telling me that I have right now I have an 1.5 inch square, so that's pretty good. Now let's say I made one that didn't quite fit, it wasn't right. Here's where I can go change that. If I have an object selected and I have properties up here, I can go change the dimensions pretty easily. So what I really wanted was something that's 1.5 inches and 1.5 inches. So that works pretty well. I need to start to get these lined up and spaced. So fortunately, I have Smart Guides on already. Anytime you see objects that end up with these little pink lines, it's usually Smart Guides that's telling you that. I have 2 of these rectangles, or 2 of these squares, and I want 2 more. I'm going to have them both selected, and this is great. Instead of having to copy and paste and use 2 separate operations to make this happen, I'm going to hold down the Option key. I can see that my cursor changes a little bit, and this is going to let me drag out a copy of these. Check it. These are definitely not lined up that well though, so we're going to start to play around with it. I'm selecting this first square. Similarly to the way that we changed the dimensions of that square, I have these transform controls and they're telling me where this thing is. So this is the reference point at which we're looking. And right now it's the center of that square. I want to change it to that corner of that square, which is this corner. And I want that to be over from the side of the artboard, exactly 0.5 inches. I want it to be down from the top, exactly 0.5 inches. Okay, so that's pretty good. At this point, I can go around and still use Smart Guides, but I think these things aren't being spaced out properly. In order to get this one lined up, I'm going to change my point of reference to that corner. And then let's see, this needs to be at what? It's 8.5 width page, so it needs to be at 8 inches. Okay, I know that corner's lined up and that corner's lined up, but the spacing in between these isn't the same. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to have all of these selected, and I'm going to be using this tool, which is the Align tool. And it gives me a few more options if I click here. They're all lined up in the vertical sense, but let's see. This lets us do things like put them all on one vertical line. Didn't want to do that. What we really want to do right here is horizontally distribute these. And let's see what happens if I do this. Ooh, it nicely spaced out all of those squares So they will be each a ½ inch apart from each other. Perfect. You remember from before, if I hit Option, it lets me drag a new copy from all of these ones. And let's see, we're getting really close. I can potentially line these up exactly on a ½ inch like this, but if I needed to, I can do this again and make sure that we're exactly at 2.5. All perfectly spaced out. One more thing that I think I'll do with this before I start working on the layers is get into my artboard controls, and I'm going to change the size of my artboard so that these guys are perfectly a ½ inch from the bottom also. That means if I make my artboard end at exactly 4.5 inches, I think this makes for a really good fit for this project. Everything's ½ inch spaced in relation to everything else. What color should I make them? Green? Sure, might as well.